Hello.
Bonjour.
Wow, everybody's no guest intro, no anything, cold open. I wasn't ready for that.
Let's go.
Well, because we're
So
running.
everyone
a
recovered from last week?
Yes.
I recovered is one word for it. I mean, I'm here.
Have you slept?
Yeah,
That's the question.
Yes. Wednesday night, I believe it was. I literally collapsed out of exhaustion at about 7 o'clock at night and fell asleep and slept very long. So it took a bit because, so the viewers, we were all at IT Nation last week, which was amazing. But instead of going home, I went directly from there to Minneapolis Comic-Con with the family, and then drove back the next day, and then was back to work. So there really wasn't a break for me. And then about Wednesday, I just all hit like a bus and was like, "Yep, I can't function. It's time for bed."
Yeah, I had yesterday off. I had to go to the Women in Business Awards thing, and I got to sleep in a little bit before that, and I was like, "This is what I needed."
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm mostly recovered. One from being sick and two from not getting any sleep. So it was a good but tired week.
You went to bed at a reasonable time. What do you mean not getting any sleep?
Well, I wake up. So my problem is no matter what time I go to bed, I'll still wake up at like 4 or 5. So whenever I go to travel or on a trip, it compounds. It gets bad. So I just lack the ability to sleep late to my extreme annoyance and extreme tired. So yeah, you would think I go to bed at like 10, 11, you're good, but still waking up at the same time.
For me, Eastern time,
5 hours, right? Like 5 hours sleep is good.
Eastern time just messes me up.
Raccoons are slowly helping me push my dumpster fire down the street, so we're making it through the week.
I can do companies based on the West Coast. If I go visit there, Western time or Pacific time, Mountain time, doesn't really affect me at all. I go to Eastern time, it's 1 hour ahead, and it just ruins everything. I don't know what it is.
Well, I get used to Eastern time is the best time.
No, yes, it is not. It is the worst time. I shouldn't have to stay up till 1:30 to watch a baseball game, okay? Eastern time is the worst time. It is terrible.
Standardize on it, basically.
I gotta say, Mountain has the best sports time, though, right? Your baseball games start at like 5 o'clock. Your football games start at 11 a.m. I'd be good with that.
Should take a vote.
Yeah, wow. Josh, how's your hockey team doing?
They're the best in the league right now. 29 points. I was talking about my kid's hockey team, which they start now. He's officially on a team. So, but no, the
Who do you
Avalanche
support
are
for a
leading.
hockey team?
Huh?
Who do you support for a hockey team?
I'm a Colorado Avalanche fan.
Okay, it's acceptable.
Yeah. This goes back to the 90s when I was a kid, and they were just the dominant force. They had the best line. They had the best goalie. I mean,
Did they win the Stanley Cup then?
yes, they won the Stanley Cup. It was them and the Red Wings.
We're going to go by the best. I just want to make sure we're using actual measurements.
They were. Yeah. I mean, you're in Canada. This is like, I should be speaking your language.
Yeah.
Although,
does everyone in Canada like hockey? I assume so.
I think it's like, I mean, I think everybody likes a hockey team. It doesn't have to be the same hockey team, and it can get quite combative as to which one you like. And it doesn't have to even be a Canadian team.
Are you Canadians, Jets, or Leafs?
What do you think?
Is Shoresy an accurate representation of a hockey team?
Oh,
I should preface. This is the kind of hockey fan that I am. So I grew up in a house that there were devout fans, like a religion. And every year,
sounds like Leafs fans.
Yeah, and so you get into the position of watching the games, and when they don't perform, you go, okay, wait, I'm not going to watch hockey unless they make the playoffs. That's what I do. I watch hockey when they make the playoffs, and then I'm only a little bit sad when it doesn't work out. And if I watched the whole year, I'd be like my parents. I'd be screaming at the television. I don't want to do
that. That's the Leafs right there. I don't even need to guess anymore.
All right.
No other interesting things in sports. Jets lost. No baseball.
Justin Fields.
We should probably get to our stories so that we don't scare off whatever viewers we have.
Whoa. We came for MSP chat, and we're going to talk about sports the whole time.
Yeah. All right.
We could do that.
We absolutely could. But our first story, actually, this one is Matt recommended this one. So, the poster posted what he thought was a massive security issue discovered within Keeper Enterprise Password Manager. He said he refrained from posting this until more of the information, but then goes about the discovery on that. And there's some, back and forth in the comments below. Matt, you wanted to discuss this one, so I'm going to let you take this away and give us our discussion points on this.
Well, I think there's an opportunity to talk about a couple of angles here. One is the disclosure process, right? So there's a pretty well accepted mechanism for talking about security issues like this, and posting on a public forum without going through disclosure and CVE and all that stuff raises a red flag to begin with. But I think there's also a point that's worth discussing about how the organization responded to this, right? The CTO of the company went right in. Of course, he got accused of damage control, so be it. Went right in and started discussing directly what the findings were and what they found. And, you can have your own opinions. My opinion based on it is that it kind of sounds like the original poster messed up his config and is just kind of doubling down and digging in at this point. But I think this is a nice example of, one, how not to do disclosure and a conversation around that. And two, just a good example of a response to that type of thing, right? I don't want to attribute to the poster's state of mind. To me, it seemed like he wanted to just be seen as the person spilling the beans on this and the guy to make a name for himself doing it. But I'd be curious to hear everyone else's thoughts on this. Is this a good way to do it? From the company's response, obviously, right? It doesn't follow responsible disclosure. I don't think that's up for debate. It just didn't. But if you found yourself, on the company side facing with this, is this the way that they should respond, or should they have done something else?
So yes, the responsible disclosure portion of this, I think obviously.
Oh, Henry, can't hear you.
Oh no, Henry.
I bet it was prophetic too. What do you guys think? Well, Henry's
Yeah.
I think you're probably bang on the nose about the person who was posting it. I think that's the one thing that kind of stood out to me from one of the community pre-days that was hosted. I think it was at ChannelCon. You know, the process by which, like, everything here is an ecosystem, right? We all rely on each other, and you know, when these things get found out, is the glory of going to public and saying, look, these people are evil, they missed this thing. I mean, everybody's going to make a mistake at some point or another. You're going to do the same for your clients. Do you really want someone to treat you like you did it purposely or that you were stupid? I think, you know, kind of addressing it, it's a bit of a tightrope in terms of how you address it, to make sure that you're not rubbing the person's nose in it. But I think that's a key point to you know, point out, is like, there's a reason why things like responsible disclosure exist, right? Like, you want to make sure that you're giving them a chance to address it. You want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence as well. Maybe you were just dumb and didn't know how to configure it. Maybe that's what you're implying, Matt. I don't know. In that case there, I feel like, you know, being in a rush to go out there and judge somebody before you've done the due diligence is not great. Now, how a company deals with it, I don't know. I mean, everybody's going to have their own. I think I've seen a couple other vendors in the space where when someone tries to do the same thing, they get like combative and they don't really care as much about what the process is, and that's part of their brand. I'm not sure I'm familiar enough with Keeper's brand to know if it fit. Would you guys say it fit their usual communication style?
they're a pretty serious company, like in terms of, like, you know, not, I don't want to say not fun, but they're not like one of those playful kind of vendors.
Not a
They just do
Huntress?
their thing. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I would err on the side with you guys as far as this person did not follow proper procedures as far as responsible disclosure and should have. That said, as far as response and so forth, I really would love to see more transparency from a lot of these companies when there is a question or an incident comes up, because a lot of times what happens is legal comes in and says, shut up, and no one's allowed to say anything. And I think that leaves a lot of questions in people's minds in that interim period while you're waiting on something to get approved. So I do wish that there would be a bit more transparency and shoot from the hip conversations about the realities of different things in those conversations. I don't know how you balance that though with the risk that's out there.
That was something that came up in that pre-day too, was just like people were being very careful what they were saying because they wanted to let people know how things worked or what happened or how they walked through the process. But then you also run into that problem of liability and what you say publicly, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just come out and say it. I think this was a clout chasing thing from the original poster, right? You title the thread "Massive Security Breach." You don't have evidence necessarily. You're unwilling to provide additional data later. Like, this is just, I want to make a name for myself. I think it's as simple as that. And I don't mind publicly saying that. And, if there is an issue, then work with Keeper to disclose it and get it fixed before you post about it. Like, I'm not saying there is or isn't an issue. We don't have enough info to say for sure. But just, hitting the internet and saying massive security problem without having evidence of it or without like having this verified, that's just that's don't do that.
Yeah, I think it's responsible.
Right, Wolf? Yeah.
I think we have to have trust. Like, we have to be able to have trust between all of us, and we can't get there, when we're just trying to like pull the carpet out from under each other, right? Sorry, Josh, I kept interrupting you.
No, you're good. It's just kind of that clickbait title. And as a person in the security industry who has dealt with security issues, there are processes you have to follow for the CVE disclosure, CVS score disclosure. doing something like this, like, even what, one of the things that I was helping on was a pretty massive issue. You can't just go to Reddit and be like, oh my God, guys, like, look at this massive security thing. Like, that's just not how it works. There are processes for a reason, and going through those, and I agree with Matt. I mean, the emotions are high. I mean, you basically kind of feel, I understand that you can feel that you've been wronged or that there's a security flaw, but again, this isn't the right way to go about it, and it just dissolves into slinging mud in the comments.
Think about it from the perspective of us too, right? Like, what if one of our clients got breached and they misunderstood how things went down and they assumed that it was something that we did wrong, and then they went out to the public and said this person, like, turned around and they were negligent and they did all these things and they publicly started trashing us. I mean, like, we wouldn't want that either, right? Like, the same respect that you want for yourself, the same ability to defend and go through and investigate what happened, that's what we should be doing for the vendors as well.
Man, treat people like people? Wow.
I don't know. It's like a really wild idea, right?
That's a terrible idea. Come on, Henry. What are you trying to do here?
Controversial.
Vendors aren't people. Come on. Man, just like, I'm not even fighting back.
I don't even know what to do because I'm everything. So I'm a vendor. and I'm an MSP. True. I'm like, literally pick something. I'm it.
All right. So takeaway: responsible disclosure before taking to the internet with stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yes, and vendors are people too. We love them. Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and go to our next.
They're businesses too.
Yep. All right. Next story here. Our team keeps losing tribal knowledge between tickets. How do you solve this? Part of a small MSP, and we're struggling with how scattered our troubleshooting info has become. When an engineer gets a ticket, half the time they're just bouncing between documentation, threads, random emails, trying to find out if someone solved a random issue before. They finally figured out they might do a quick lunch and learn or write a short blurb in the documentation system. Most of that tribal knowledge still sits in people's heads. We've tried improving documentation hygiene, but since most of the best fixes come from past tickets or random hacks that aren't official docs, it's messy to organize. IT Glue is okay for process docs, but it's terrible for quickly finding a specific fix, and it doesn't look at unstructured data. Is anyone solving this better? How are you making previous ticket resolutions searchable or accessible when a new incident comes in? Henry,
somebody else go first.
So, well, one, start improving your documentation with focusing on your most common ticket types that you're seeing, and then expand from there. But two, a lot of the PSAs now have integrations with different AI platforms to go through your previous tickets and start building out suggested documentation. So that would be something that I would be looking into.
Man, I don't mean to trivialize this issue, but if you have too much tribal knowledge, the answer is just document it. Like the end. Like, it's that simple.
I hate all these answers, guys. I'm going to be the controversial one here. Okay.
All right, go.
So, yes, your PSA can reference your documentation, and that's a great way when you're using the right ticket types to be able to have it pull and be able to have it reference previous tickets as well as any knowledge in your documentation. You can do that through most PSAs, specifically better. Some are better than others, but like, that is a real thing. However, I think we get so hung up on the what I'm worried about with this post is like, we need to document every fix. And the reality is what you should be focusing on is the best kind of troubleshooting, so that no matter the situation the person has, they can pull out their Swiss Army knife and be able to handle it. The problem that we run into a lot of times is like, well, it wasn't documented and I didn't know, and this person knew, and whatever. But like, how do you solve a problem? It doesn't matter what the problem is. Like, that is the core strength that every IT team needs to have. And when you rely too much on documentation, and trust me, I'm a proponent for it, but when you rely too much on documentation that says this is the exact fix, this is the problem that you run into. People don't know the right search string to use. They're not 100% sure what exists and what doesn't exist. And they go, well, I couldn't find it, or I didn't know. And then this person had to tell me. I think, there's probably ways to disseminate when it's a known issue that happens at a client. repeatedly and that can have a business impact, but we need to get better at strengthening our team's troubleshooting versus saying, oh, we need to document everything and have them follow it. That's my spiciness.
I mean,
in the comments is actually really good too.
Yeah, we do our projects team does a weekly show and tell where we either go over these things or we go over some cool new tech or thing that they've done. I believe the service desk does something similar, but the other thing too is, we follow the ITIL. So to my understanding, if again with the repeated tickets, eventually it becomes a problem ticket, which is then tracked to try to fix the root cause of it. So yeah, it does all start with documentation, but at some point, if this becomes a repetitive issue, you have to have that communication out there. We've, team spaces or open mics or just something where you're able to share. Same thing with our morning stand-ups. I mean, we are primarily a remote team, so it's hard to, it's a little different when you're in an office and you can kind of go door to door or like have somebody, go over your shoulder and help troubleshoot those things. But just building that communication and leaving those avenues open, it does start with documentation, but it really is more about the communication of it than just documenting, because you can document, but if you don't communicate where that documentation is or why you made it, then it's not as good.
And standardize your friggin' documentation. Make sure it follows a pattern and that people can understand where to find stuff. That's
so
my
I
eyes
would
saying
push back on I would push back on both of you slightly in that the original problem statement is tribal knowledge, not troubleshooting. And things that are tribal knowledge, that's where your documentation standards and procedure come in, not the unknowns.
But how do we know how they're determining what tribal knowledge is? Because I've heard that excuse constantly. But
Yeah. So my pushback on that is what do you like? Is there a difference between tribal knowledge and just overall product knowledge? Like for Microsoft 365 side, our guys know the basics, but there's a project engineer who's Microsoft 365 specialized. I specialized in 365, so we have more knowledge. I don't necessarily. So at what point, like if things are escalated to us or like, hey, only Damon and Josh would know this, but is that considered tribal knowledge just because we've gained that experience and the knowledge over the years because that's our specialty?
I don't know. I think I would actually look at something like, when you have a client that has like a line of business app and it always performs in a certain way. And then like there could be an issue when this updates, like for example, like Sage always has an issue when this updates or whatever. And then it impacts them because they use it in these 3 other areas. Like that to me would be tribal knowledge. But we use something inside of our documentation platform called client nuances. It's like its own little section in the asset layer where anything that could be out of the norm is there. And then like part of our documentation training is, if you run into an issue that doesn't look right, like, did you check the nuances to see if there's something there? But I don't know if that is the same as creating a whole document to deal with it, because you have to also consider, and one of the reasons why I was pushing back, Matt, is because if you overload your documentation system with too much crap, then the searching becomes like virtually impossible and not helpful at all. So you have to consider the structure of how you lay things out to make sure that it's going to be somewhere accessible that makes sense, right? Not just document. Document it, but not document. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
How many times is the nuance with a client defined as like, don't mess with Martha in accounting?
Yeah, no, actually it is this person like prefers to be contacted through email. Do not try to call this person. It will annoy them. Like certain things like that is definitely part of the client nuance as well. But it is also it's the intangibles of troubleshooting that you can't necessarily process out, right?
I would see tribal knowledge as stuff like, hey, when you reboot this server, this service doesn't always start, then make sure that or this one has to stay logged in or stuff like that. That should all be documented. Yeah,
but where is it documented? Is it documented under each one of the clients in a document, like each separate thing a document, or like what I was saying, where it's like a nuance where you can go to for all of the client stuff in one go?
I mean, it can be anywhere. I'm just saying that stuff, that's not a troubleshooting skill. That's a documentation skill.
It's troubleshooting to make sure to look at the right thing in the right place.
Nice save.
So we're going to go with the wrong answer here of screenshotting the request from the tech, putting it in the company Teams all chat, and chastising them for asking stupid questions and sending them a "let me Google that for you" link.
The right answer is to, or the wrong answer is to tell them to go ask ChatGPT.
Well, if you give enough information to ChatGPT over time, if you connected all the things, it'll know it has those nuances.
Oh no, I'm just talking about a blank version of ChatGPT out in the
cool.
wild.
I mean, all right.
I think we were challenged about. Somebody said something to me privately about challenged about how many times we can say AI in this conversation. So I just wanted to say AI. Yeah,
Perfect.
and there she did it. So she outed herself. She was the one who said it to me.
It is a little too early, but it is Friday. So if you're doing the AI drinking game, I'm sorry or you're welcome.
Depends on what time zone you're in.
That's true. All right. Let's go to our next story here. A rant about security awareness phishing emails. We run security awareness training phishing emails. All users who onboarded get an overview of why and how to report these. Every time they send in a ticket about one, they get the full instructions again, screenshots on how to report, etc. I'm so glad that users see these and don't action upon them. However, I hate that our POCs get defensive, acting like our system isn't working almost every time they get a test. Then we explain it's a test like crickets. No response or acknowledgement. The next time, fire. Again, geez, rant over. So what I think that they're going off of is they have some sort of email filtering gateway, and when you configure the security awareness training, you're obviously bypassing any of the security filters. So then they're like, hey, why are we getting these? Aren't you blocking these? What the heck? And then you respond, well, it's a test, and it goes through there, and then they continually doing it. So how is this happen to any of you guys on this, or how do you handle it? How do you continually handle the repetitiveness of this?
You just do. I don't want to sound like I'm being obtuse, but clients often don't understand these things, and it is our job to guide them through it. And it doesn't matter how annoying it is. Like, the patience and customer service required to walk them through it is one of the reasons why we have a job. So I feel like if they understood it, they could probably very easily run phish tests on their own, and they don't. They need us. So like, I think it's really easy to get annoyed. I think it's just important to remain patient. That's just my personal whatever on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's one of those client education pieces. Which, I don't know. You should have that already planned and wrapped into your security awareness phishing process and offering. So do the thing.
Yeah, it's not just the technology, it's the people part, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all dealt with this. It's a client education thing. Honestly, when I would get this, I say, yeah, that's awesome. Just keep reporting them. And honestly, we never had this problem. I don't know if we were doing something right or what, but our contacts never came to us like mad that phishing test emails got through. They were always appreciative of it. Maybe we had like the, lucky client base or something, but this was not an issue for us, honestly.
Honestly, when I found it, I feel like it's an ego thing. Like, and I'm not trying to call a client out here, but I think that sometimes there's an embarrassment level of I got caught. And so the people that I've seen respond in that way with anger usually come at it from like, well, you got me, but now I have to say something to you to like even the playing field so that we both look stupid, right? And so it really comes from a place of insecurity. And I don't say that like we should shame the client, but I actually say that like if you understand it, then maybe you have a little bit of grace for what they're going through in the moment and going, okay, they're probably scared because they realize that they put themselves in a position of, possibly harming the company. And that's scary. So like, that's where it's coming from. Right. And so the education behind it is, this is why we do it. Like, this is, we want to catch it in these moments here. We want to catch the behavior in a way where it's not risking the company so that we can kind of walk through what it looks like. This is why we do this kind of training. Right. So I don't know. I think it's the psyche behind people and why they react the way that they do is kind of important too.
For us, it comes down to training. I mean, the one that we use has a little plugin in Outlook that you use, so that way, like if something does come through, you can click on this, and then it'll tell you if it's a simulated phishing email and get you a little confetti. It's pretty neat. So just training them on that, like, hey, congratulations, you got this, but here's how we fix it next time. So teaching them how to how to use that. I almost said teaching them how to fish, but I wasn't ready for that pun. But
That's
the
what
other
AI
side
is for.
is going through the explanation, and this is what part of the user education that it comes with our clients. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up when I picked this story is security awareness training isn't just, hey, they buy your security platform and call it a day. It is continual effort, day in and day out, for your clients of training them on building that security culture and working with them. So having the understanding that, hey, even if we have these things in place, I mean, it is the whole, security onion, whatever you want to call it. Awareness training is step one. We let you guys be aware. You're trained on what phishing things look like, but we're all human. So we're going to put technology in place that's going to try to stop these from getting through to you. Unfortunately, something's going to get through. And when it does, we need to know about it as quickly as possible. So we have reporting, we have MDR, etc. So in this case, this is a test run. Something got through. You did the right thing. Like, awesome. It's not a fault on us that something got through. That's just what happens. It's why we have other things in place. So having the patience and just building that awareness training goes a long way. It is not just a set and forget. Oh, cool. We're providing videos and we're doing monthly training. Like, you can check it off. I mean, yeah, you can check the compliance box off, but you need to be doing more.
And it's the same grace we were talking about in the keeper situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're humans. I mean, I have gotten a couple times where the test email that's gotten through has been a little sensitive and not something that should go through. And it's like, well, I mean, this is what attackers are using, so it's replicating it. And I understand that it is frustrating and emotive, and there's a lot of emotion behind it. But this is what's being out there, so just being aware of it. And obviously, depending on the client, there are things that I've done to shut that off, but just having that explanation of why it's happening.
Yeah.
But Josh, I need those hair loss pills.
Oh, the hair loss pills. It is.
Oh, that was a good one to pick, Henry. There could have been so much more.
I tried to be sensitive.
Man, some of the restore requests we get are quite humorous. But
oh, I like what the person just said in the comments. Give a client a fish they'll eat for a day. Teach a client to catch fish, they'll secure their network for life.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Poetic, even. Who knew?
Yeah. All right, that's the comment of the day. You'll have to beat that. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and go to the next story here. I thought this was an interesting one. Is it normal to outsource a lot as an MSP? I've been at my MSP for a little while now, and I don't have much experience outside of this job, so I'm curious how common this is. How much do most of you handle in-house versus telling the client they need to go to another vendor? In my place, we handle core networking, servers, computers, and the domain and Entra, but that's about it. Anything outside of that, my boss is telling them, go find a vendor. We're not experts. So phones or VoIP, vendor. Cabling, wiring, vendor. They need to set up Salesforce, QuickBooks, or other line of business software, vendor. Printers, 50-50. We'll install basic stuff, but if they want bigger, that's a vendor. We won't even manage most SaaS licensing for our clients. We tell them they have to manage it themselves immediately or find another vendor. I'm just curious if this is normal because it feels kind of weird. So
there's a lot to unpack here. I see two things. One is, yeah, it's normal that you might not have a cabling division or you might not be experts on QuickBooks or Salesforce or whatever. But why wouldn't you resell that? Right? Go work with your preferred cabling vendor and resell it as part of the project and tack it onto your project fee. That's how we handled it. If there were some specialty, excuse me, there were some specialty things like that that if the client had a vendor they wanted to work with or something specific to their industry, then so be it. But like a cabling job, we would happily outsource that ourselves, mark it up, and resell it. Like what a missed opportunity.
What if I don't want to deal with that though?
I'm waiting for everyone else to weigh in before I say anything. It's going to cause me an aneurysm, but I don't care.
What if all I want to do is password reset tickets?
Somebody call Dustin. We need a trunk slammer.
No, I agree. Why leave all these different opportunities and money on the table where there's room for partnerships? I get like not overextending and having your focus so broad, but at the same time, like if you're constantly just passing all of this business, you no longer are holding that relationship with the client as a trusted advisor, and like you're giving everyone else an opportunity to take on that role. My 2 cents.
What? Okay, let's take this.
Josh, are you going to weigh in before I can say anything?
Okay, go ahead and say something, and then I want to take this a different way. But go ahead.
Okay, I can tell you why you don't. You can have partnerships. Partnerships are great. Partnerships shouldn't be premised on the fact that you get a cut. Personally, I think if it's a partnership, then it should be that I scratch your back, you scratch my back in terms of getting business. We definitely have preferred vendors that we work with and preferred facilitators. But I can swear on here, right? Right?
Yes.
Why the fuck would I put my company's name in someone else's hands in terms of managing something when I don't have the control? Right? Like when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm not going to say, okay, here, I'm going to put this person in place where whatever job that they do could risk the contract. I've done that. We've done that at our MSP exactly 3 times. And every single time we did our due diligence in choosing the person we work with. And yet it still almost or did cost us the contract when that person messed up. Whatever you have as on your business name, it needs to be something that you have direct control over, or you can't manage how it's going to turn out. And then you risk, I mean, it's a risk you could take. That's what business is in general, but it's not a risk that I'm willing to take. Now, we do more than what the person put in the Reddit post. However, we won't do cabling. It's one of the areas that we definitely don't touch. We have partners that we work with and that we recommend. We get the clients to quote, and we're happy to consult. You know, the account manager, VCIO role does that kind of stuff. That is where you get to be the partner. But being the partner doesn't mean that you do everything. Being the partner means that you act as the person that can advise them from the technical perspective of what the right decision is. And the right decision sometimes is not you being involved. An expert being involved is the right decision. And not every expert wants to be someone that, you know, pays an MSP a portion of their cut either.
Yeah, but I think you can do that without paying them a cut. Like you still want to be that trusted advisor and own that relationship and say, hey, I don't know this, or I can't perform this, but this is the person that I would recommend to do. But
they're specifically calling out outsourcing and not doing it yourself. And that's where my issue is. I don't think that we should be doing everything. I think that we should.
I feel like my reputation is still on the line if I recommend someone, right? If it blows up in their face, it's still going to come back to me. I may as well get paid for taking that risk.
No, we just don't see eye to eye on that one, because I think it's all in how you preface it to the client, right? I could say to them, this is who we've worked for before. When we've had these situations, like they've done a good job, we'll meet with them and see how you feel. And if you have the same, you know, kind of feeling, we've had clients go, yeah, I didn't really like that person. Do you have anybody else you can suggest to me? Right? They have to make the choice as much as you do. Now, the choice is made on the technology side by what you're recommending, but there's also a choice in business and who you want to be dealing with. And that's personality based, right? So there's 2 sides of the equation. A person can walk in and do the job excellently, but they're a jerk while they're doing it. Then it doesn't really mean anything, right? Like to the client, their perception is based on how they were treated, not necessarily the cable on the wall. They don't know if that was done properly. They only know how the person operated when they were on site. So like, I think that because the decision is twofold, you want to make sure they're involved in it, not something where you're just saying, yeah, we're using this person and we're going to outsource to them.
So what I'm hearing is Matt Topper would rent the Girl Scouts the piece of property to sell their lemonade, and Amanda wouldn't let them on the property to begin with.
Yeah. I would help facilitate them find
for sure.
And I would make sure that they had a good place to go, like just to be a good neighborly person that had no vested interest in. But yeah, no.
And so it's interesting. My opinion on that changed over the years, because I used to have something closer to your opinion, Amanda, and then the reality of just like, and I'm not saying you're wrong to think this way, but I started getting to the point of, look, I got to make a profit on this stuff, and that became equally important as just like recommending someone that I liked. And there's There's not a wrong answer.
For the DCIO, right? Like, so we charge for that role. We make sure that when we bake that role in, that there's a charge for that. So anytime the consulting and the relationship building that goes into having that kind of recommendation is there, that cost is accounted for in the contract.
Yeah, I wanted the revenue. Maybe it makes me like a less trusted advisor.
No, I think that's the beauty of
that
business.
way.
There's different ways to do it, right? And different clients will respond differently to each.
Where do you draw the line on this? So I'm thinking of like a software. Like, let's say your client comes to you because they want something like a piece of software that does their signature. I can't think like an Excalibur,
Exclaimer, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Exclaimer, right? But like, do you just resell it, or do you go, okay, well, like we don't really do that or offer it?
That's actually one of the ones that we would take on. So like, that's not a one that we would in our MSP, like we take on line of business software. Like, that's not an issue for us.
But now you're adding overhead, you're adding more like invoicing issues for
it's pro services.
Like,
it's a pro services project to I mean, every client's going to have line of business software, right? We don't price based on how many line of business apps they have, right? They were based on user. Now you can,
but if they're coming and they're wanting more and more of these, now you're having, it's just adding a lot more back office work, because they're like, oh, well, this client has these 4 things. This one only has like this one has our standard stack.
Welcome to MSP world.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the choice of like, if you want to, take it on or not. But
well, and to be clear, Josh, I'm talking about things like a cabling job or a AV install or like a conference room setup.
Or like
pen
testing. I mean, we shouldn't be
we're not installing TVs.
We shouldn't be doing pen tests. That's technically a conflict of interest. So it's like, hey, these are pen testing firms that we work with, as we would recommend, but ultimately the customer would have to decide if they want to go with them or not, or pick a different one. I mean, we do AV here, so I don't have a horse in that race. We do TV installs, cable pulling. We're certified and have a department that does that. So
it's interesting to me that this person's not even reselling licensing, though. Like,
licensing.
That's part.
Yeah, what are they actually doing?
Managing Office 365 sounds like.
What would you say you do here?
Well, I mean, like managing Office 365, managing patching and updates, like these are core things to what any MSP should be doing. And some people maybe just want to keep it as simple as that. I don't know. There's probably something in terms of business where you recognize what you're good at and what you have the ability to have in-house, and then go, well, I'm going to outsource everything else till I can either build that. I mean, I don't know what the strategy is for this MSP either. Maybe the employee doesn't know, but maybe it's just purely because they don't have that skill set in-house and they don't feel comfortable offering something that they can't do well. There's probably an argument for everybody to be doing something, even if it looks stupid from afar, right? Like, I think that's the problem, is there's probably not enough data in here about like what the owner was thinking. This is from the employee approach, where there's some bias in terms of maybe they don't understand what has happened. Maybe, they're like us, where they've run into cabling issues before, where people took on a project and then when it went south, it impacted their business, and they said never again, right? So like, everybody makes decisions shaped on whatever.
Well,
I think
let's kind of continue this thread with our next story here. It's actually kind of related. How do you handle your MSP shortcomings? So this person's a newer one-man MSP with a single client, fairly large, onboarding relatively soon. I have my strengths specifically in the 365 Azure, fairly solid when it comes to general IT, but I know for a fact when things get complex or things hit the fan in networking, I'd sweat. How does a small MSP handle complex areas they aren't masters in? Do you outsource? Do you take it on? What do you do? So kind of the same thing with this. Like, what, you can't be a master of everything. So how do you handle those shortcomings? And kind of how do you work on those?
I think to Amanda.
What do most MSPs do? Pretend they know how to do it and figure it out later?
I think to Amanda's point, you're transparent and not honest about what your skill sets are and find the appropriate professional. Now, if you have to find a professional for everything, then maybe the MSP world is not for you and you should go work for Dustin Bolander. But outside of that, just be transparent and honest in what your skill set is, and and find someone you can refer to or partner with.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm gonna be spicy.
I mean, come on. How are we not saying you just buy another tool? Are we not?
No,
Slap some AI on.
no. Yeah, again. No, I'm struggling with the idea of a one-person MSP. I'm not going to say they're not an MSP, but I'm saying that they probably should consider the business model and what the actual sales pitch is in terms of, this is the team that you get in order to cover. Because if they could hire just one person, they probably would have. Like, to be profitable in any kind of business for MSP, you kind of have to have a scale of clients, which is not something that just one person can necessarily manage on their own. And so I would feel like outsourcing or having a plan where you can work with someone that can do overflow is what you would need to scale. I'm not saying you can't be a one-person MSP. I'm saying it'd be really difficult, and I'd be really struggling to see how you make those numbers work. Someone prove me wrong. I'd love it, but I really struggle with that.
I would say it's more you can't be a one-person MSP for very long.
No.
You can, like, on day one. Like, you got to get that first client.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a journey for everyone, right? That's why I said having the overflow, right? But what if you have one client and that one client has something go bad and you're just one person? Like, you can't fulfill the nature of that statement of work without having a plan for overflow. So there's like plenty of outsourced knock and socks and stuff that you can engage with where you put them on a retainer. So like in my case here, I am advocating for having some plan for outsourcing, even if it isn't something that you use all the time. It should be something that you're considering, because otherwise you could be a one-man person that ends up closing your business.
So taking this as a larger MSP, when you're looking at it, have you done SWOT analysis at any of your MSPs?
Yeah.
I'm going to dive into that. Does that kind of help where you're focused on? Henry, take us through that. What's a SWOT analysis?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you go through and list out under each one of those categories what you've identified as your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, we revisit that as part of our annual planning every year, because that's especially the opportunities and threats are always evolving. But it's something you have to be honest about with yourself, because there's usually some uncomfortable conversations, and egos can sometimes get in the way of those discussions. But yeah, it's certainly a huge benefit for an organization to keep on top of those things.
Amanda, do you want anything to that? You were shaking your head yes on those as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same thing. I think a perfect example in this case here that kind of ties into what we were just talking about is we actually saw it as an opportunity to not outsource. One of our major competitors outsources their help desk, and we constantly get sales opportunities based on the fact that the people who are dealing with them don't like dealing with people overseas. So if we understand that our current geographic area has an issue with that, and that it's going to drive people away from one of our major competitors, it makes sense for us to keep it in-house, in addition to the feedback that we already get for clients, right? So like when you're doing a SWOT analysis, you're really just looking at what is the strength that we have that we can make sure that we don't make a change that affects it. Because when you're doing these things to better your business, it's really easy in the search of progress to maybe lose sight of, what's good. And you want to make sure you're making changes that account for the things that make people happy, right? You can make yourself more efficient by eliminating your help desk altogether. Well, I can tell you there's a major MSP that did that, and that we got at least 7 clients from them. So I don't know. And that was just in our geographic area. I was just talking to another MSP out in Vancouver that also got like double digits of clients from them. So, there's things that you have to make sure you pay attention to about what you're offering that make people stay with you, both your employees and your clients.
Matt,
is that something that you've done as well?
Well, I'm actually kind of wondering if this has changed, right? So think about when many of us got started, right? Early to mid 2000s, there was no outsourced knock sock back then. That's something that started coming around in what, like 2009, 2010, something like that. Most of our companies are older than that, and so back then there was no choice but to staff yourself appropriately to be able to handle that. Of course, we were all kind of rolling trucks, and there wasn't really, you can make an argument that you weren't doing managed services at all at that time. To the outsourcing piece, almost everyone I know who's outsourced first line support, it has not gone well. Right, the relationships are what the important thing is. But as far as like the startup time, there was a long period where that wasn't an option, and we just kind of had to make it work. And now it's a different ballgame. Like the playbook starting from zero today is different than the playbook starting from zero would have been 20 years ago.
Do you all do some type of business operating system, EOS or otherwise?
We're Traction too.
EOS, yeah.
What you're saying, yeah. We're Traction, but we also incorporate a heavy amount of Patrick Lencioni. So like 6 Working Geniuses and every book that he's got, we've pretty much incorporated in some sort of form.
All right. Shall we
How
move
dare
on
you
to our
hydrate, Josh?
Sorry, I need to hydrate. So you can see it. It's, you get through one of these a day. I was having a conversation with our friend Tony Francisco about it. I really like water. So we had supper at IT Nation, and I had like 2 big bottles of sparkling water, and he took a couple sips, and he's just like, I can't fathom how much water you drink. I was like, dude, if you see my water bottle, big old
That's
stuff.
impressive.
So, and the best part is because it's so big, I have all these great stickers on there. So, all right. Well, Amanda, thank you for joining us on this, the second week of every month. I look forward to these. So this was fantastic. A lot of good discussion and debates today. A little spicier than normal, but that's what makes it fun. I love it.
Thanks for putting up with me and my facial expressions.
That's what makes these fun. I mean, if we all just say agree and give you the same answer, well, we could do that in the Reddit comments. But we have the healthy debates. I mean, that's what helps us grow and learn. So definitely appreciate it. It is later in the year. Do we have anything on the event calendar? Anything people would like to pitch? Oh, we do have some things. All right. Open Text World in Nashville, Tennessee, November 17th through the 20th. Cybersecurity Summit in New York on the 18th. Another Cybersecurity Summit in Los Angeles, November 20th. And as always, the IR Games. The last Friday of this month is Black Friday, so we're doing it next Friday, the 26th. My calendar isn't working. Hold on. The 21st. 21st. That's when we're doing it.
Is this the last one of this for the year, or is this the last one for the year for me? Because I got that in the...
Oh, for Community Live?
Yeah. Is it my last one, maybe?
No, we're doing a couple more.
Great.
Yeah.
Have we all been sacked and we haven't been told?
No, I think it said it in the email invitation, but I don't know if I was just imagining that. I'll have to go see if I can screenshot it and find it. Happy to come back again, though.
Amanda, you are welcome back anytime that you want. We are lucky to have you, so appreciate you spending
Wednesday
your
at 12 o'clock.
Ray's sitting in Florida, sending watch them respond to this.
We did have a little bit of a missed opportunity. We could have done MSP Community live since all of us were at IT Nation. I know we were.
There's another missed opportunity. Hold on one second.
Ray and I tried that twice. Complete fail. It doesn't work.
2026. We're gonna make it happen somewhere. MSP Community live.
So Kate pointed out that I missed the opportunity to include a Goots, but also one thing that I would recommend for anybody to do is go to mspgeekcon.com and get your tickets for the conference that's coming up in May. All the geese.
Yes. Do that. All right. Well, it is now top of the hour. Again, thank you guys so much. Always fun hanging out with you every Friday. As always, if there's any stories you'd like to share, come join in our Discord. Post some Reddit stories on there. If you want to be a guest, the form is in the comments. But until next Friday, we will see you guys later. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
This has been a broadcast of the